get moving.
Music bed.
Welcome everybody to the Kingsmen Roundtable. I am Denise and I will be your host today. Our fun fact that I have for you today is that it's not a very fun fact, three of our founding fathers, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and James Monroe, all died on July 4th. How very sad.
Yeah, it's
Very
not
sad.
fun.
Yes.
Wow.
And with that, I will introduce our co-host, Bill. What have you got for us today?
Welcome.
Thank you, Bill.
You know what?
As always.
I will say one thing. I find it very odd that the word extraordinary is really just extraordinary. Does anybody else think that that's odd? You're not just
That is
ordinary.
odd.
You're extraordinary.
Super normal.
That's all.
That is, yeah.
There you go.
That is odd. And also joining us today, Jason.
Hey, I'm Jason, and a fun fact that I heard on the radio a couple days ago, the name of the shape of a Pringle is a hyperbolic paraboloid.
And did you bring Pringles to share with the class?
I did not.
Oh,
Bummer.
Sorry.
yeah.
It's so unfortunate. They would probably not do well though with the microphones. Welcome, Jason. Also joining us for the first time today, Greg.
Hey, I'm Greg. My fun fact is that the Norwegian women's soccer team's nickname is the Grasshoppers.
Young grasshopper.
That's
That
fun.
is fun. That is very fun.
Yeah.
That is fun.
They hop around the
Women's World
grass.
Cup started today.
Yeah.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
There's your fun fact. Another one. He gave you
Two
two.
fun facts.
Yeah.
It's relevant.
2 in 1.
Yeah.
Very relevant. Randy, welcome to our round table. What have you got for us today?
So I'm going to give you something to think about.
Oh no,
Yes.
as long as it doesn't hurt.
Bears, while hibernating, do not urinate.
But do they shit in the woods?
Beep.
Ah!
You knew I had to ask, right?
Yeah.
They really don't.
They don't. They convert the waste to protein.
Interesting.
Interesting.
That's crazy.
That is an interesting and fun
How do you
fact.
get on that that team to test that theory?
Hey, you need
Like,
to go
what-
sit in a
what
cave.
class are you?
For 6 months.
You're raising your hand on that one. And how do you test it?
And our fourth panelist today is Heather. Heather, welcome.
Hello. And speaking of bears, bears like honey. Honey never spoils. Fun fact.
Oh.
Honey never spoils.
Never. They have found 10,000-year-old honey in
Who found
caves
this?
and things.
And
Anthropologists.
somebody
and
stuck
stuff.
their finger in it?
That's another. How did you get volunteers for that?
Yeah.
I do not want to be a 10,000-year-old honey tester.
It doesn't spoil. My husband told me that, but I didn't believe him. Now I do.
Oh my God.
What changed your mind?
That it didn't come from him.
Oh, okay. You had to look it up.
Yeah, I did.
Trust but verify.
Yeah. I was about to throw out some old honey.
You're not,
I
now
said
you've
it's
kept
not.
it.
It's not old.
There you go. It's old, but it's not spoiled.
Right.
Excellent. All right, let's take ourselves into round one. Our first round is our stories for the court. We've got 2 stories that came up over this past week that we're going to talk about. We are going to start off with Shutterstock. Shutterstock is a company that keeps stock photos out there, and in their concern over some of the recent changes that are going on with AI, they have started to partner with OpenAI to make sure that they kept themselves relevant. So there was a story out there. Shutterstock and OpenAI have now a partnership to make sure that the future of training images remains at a high quality. Make sure that we're getting the best data that's out there. Jason, what do you think? Legit, not legit?
I think that's a very good idea. My experience of what I've seen so far is there really needs to be more training against images. If things I've tried to do don't get very good quality, so I like it.
Okay. Think it's a viable way to keep themselves, Shutterstock to keep themselves in business?
Absolutely. It's sort of like, Netflix Blockbuster, right? Like, get in on it quick before you're behind.
Okay. Greg, how about you? What do you think?
I think it's a good idea as well. I think that they can kind of go with the flow instead of trying to go against it in any way. And they can also, if they get really fancy with it, I think that they could use their search metrics and say, hey, we know what people are searching for and what kind of images people need stock photos of, and they could eventually get ahead of the game and maybe make their own generative AI stock photos because they already know what people are looking for.
Nice. That's a great idea. Randy, thoughts here?
So I'm kind of split. Part of me thinks it's a good idea.
You gotta go. No riding the fence in this crowd.
Okay, so I'm going to go with it's not that great. So first
Redeem yourself.
First off, we're not thinking about the people who actually create these stock photos. So I did see where they were going to pay royalties back to the creators, but one of the main concerns of creators is having their style taken by generative AI, and this does nothing to address that. So,
Wow.
yeah, so that's why I think it's going to put money in Shutterstock's pocket, but I don't think it helps the artists.
That was a point. I hit the wrong button.
I got him.
Sorry, Randy, I hit the wrong button. Did you have anything else now that I have a malfunction?
Nah, I'm good.
Okay. Heather, coming from an artistic mindset.
Yes, so as a creative, I have to say I'm not a fan. I understand what they have to do for business practices, but as a creative, it is going to narrow the options that you get when you search as they get better and better at feeding you the right image. What is the right image per hundreds of thousands of people? You lose the accidental creative that you get as well. So when you're looking and you find something that's not at all what you asked for, but then it makes your mind juxtapose that and sometimes leads to better creative. So it's going to narrow the creativity.
She gets a point for juxtaposed.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Big words.
Anything else? Bill, do you have anything to add?
No, how do you argue with that? I mean, that's pretty good.
Juxtaposed?
I honestly feel I have no idea where this is going to go. So
I do think it's an interesting way to try and keep themselves relevant. I think that's where Greg was going, is making sure that they don't become, I don't know which one of you said it, become the next Blockbuster. Jason, I think you might have said, become the next Blockbuster and totally disappear. Excellent. The next topic, our topic 2, it goes back to something that we talked about in another one of our roundtables around the episode Black Mirror. What was Joan?
Joan is awful.
Joan is awful, yes. There was an interesting article that we found that Hollywood has now proposed an AI contract. And in the AI contract for the actors, they want to propose AI replicas of the talent to get their consent without compensation, basically. So they've got an AI replica of somebody and they can use it for the duration, basically forever, without any consent or compensation for the actual, to the actor, back to the actor. So, Greg, what are your thoughts around this one?
Can I pass? I skimmed that article. All right, no. I kind of skimmed this article and thought it was more about the writers and not the actors. And unpopular opinion, I don't really care very much. I think that
There
there's
is no
too much
popular,
content.
unpopular opinion here.
yeah, that's true.
I think there's too much content, and if they use AI to generate the next movie or installment of Spy Kids, I'm okay with that.
Please don't subject us to another Spy Kids.
No, there's like 15 of them.
Randy, what do you think?
So I think it's a valid concern. So at least back in the late '90s, when they were subbing Marilyn Monroe and different people into commercials, at least the estates got paid back for that money. So it was something you could leave as a legacy for your family. I will say that I don't think there's any way of controlling this. So far this week, I've listened to Johnny Cash perform Barbie Girl and Elvis Presley Baby Got Back. So I recommend the Elvis Presley Baby Got Back one. It sounds legit.
I want to hear Johnny Cash sing the Barbie Girl.
I'll send it to you after this.
Wow.
Okay. Interesting. Heather, what do you think?
I think that it's a slippery slope, and that someone's just going to end up, sliding right down it when you have your image and your likeness being used and paid for, and then someone, then uses that likeness as often, as many times as they want without you getting paid for it. That's a problem. I think, so there was some mention of it being, based on the project itself. So if you are Selma Hayek, for example, and they want you to do a cartwheel in the background, and they've licensed your AI image for that project, and they can do whatever for that particular movie, commercial, whatever it is, cool. But as you start to do that, then these little digital bits of yourself get out everywhere, and people can make memes and do that. I think it's difficult for the actors to retain their financial standing with this.
Do we do some of that today? I mean, don't we do some of that? You
Yeah.
mentioned memes, so doesn't some of that happen today? We've
Yes.
all seen Tom Brady doing, who knows what.
Yes.
There is a YouTube channel of Keanu Reeves just doing random household stuff, and it took me like 3 videos before I realized that
wasn't
was a
him.
deep fake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So does it make a difference if it's paid versus unpaid?
Well, if somebody else is making money off of it, and it's your likeness, then yes. So if Netflix takes your likeness and replicates it, and they make millions of dollars, and you haven't been consulted, which is basically what Joan is Awful was about, that's a problem. Somebody makes a meme of you, or the channel that you're talking about. Yeah, you're not gonna have Joe in the corner, pay Keanu Reeves for doing this funny.
So do we feel different? Do you feel different, Heather, if Salma Hayek was being paid?
Yes.
Okay, Randy, how about you?
I think that the people creating the memes also should have to pay. I don't think people twisting Keanu Reeves. There's another one that's Tom Cruise doing random stuff. Some of this is going to get just more and more convincing. And if there's not a stop to it, then you're not going to know, did Keanu Reeves make this statement or not. So
Right.
I think if you're going to use somebody's likeness, you should pay, whether it's for a meme or whether
So
it's
pay Keanu.
Yeah.
Okay. Jason, how about you? Should they be paid?
Absolutely, I think we should. I don't want my image out there, like just people making stuff for it. But I like that idea of the project. Like,
Don't tell him, Randy.
Too late.
the idea of the project, like maybe it's less work for them. They get paid, but their likeness is used to do things that they couldn't do.
Right.
The stunts,
Or they wouldn't do.
or they wouldn't do. Right.
Yeah.
Like
De-aging
some of the
Harrison Ford.
Like porn.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that could turn into
Where-
something bad.
Where does that
right?
Where does
'Cause
that line
what if
end?
they take that and somebody does that?
Right.
That was Bill. Greg, I didn't skip you. You said you didn't care. But
Slippery
would
slope.
would you care any more or less if you were paid? If the actor were paid?
I think that the consent part is more important to
Okay.
me. That if I was in that position
Yeah.
of being famous and people were making memes or videos, I would want to at least be able to sign off or
Have a
have my
say.
agent sign off and say, okay, that's funny. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care, if that guy sends me money for putting me into a meme, but no, I don't want to be associated with this particular group or company, then
Right.
no, I don't want in on that. Or y'all owe me this much for my likeness's participation.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Interesting. Bill, did you want to add anything else besides trying to figure out what porn is?
Don't Google it.
Yeah, not on the work network.
Not safe for work.
Yeah, not safe for work.
All I know is it's a 4-letter word.
Oh, yeah. The other thing I'd say is that the only thing I know, being in this business a long time, is technology always changes, and you look at everything throughout the years, it's always, people take advantage of stuff and then they figure out a way to make money off of it. So just like the way music is done today is not the same as it was when we were, spinning LPs. They will come up with a way to have, I think this is the kind of thing that opens up the ability for a lot more people to make money, because now you can have your own personal ID that, somehow has to be embedded in everything, and if your ID's in there, then you're in the database. And I mean, like there's somebody's going to solve this where they're like, yep, you got an ID, you got an ID, and everybody's got an ID. And the only way any of these things work is if you've got to have, just like you
get an ID.
Right.
And you get
Right. So just like if you have a speaking part in a movie, right, you're credited. I think they'll come up with a way to do that. And at that point, all of us can make money, not just the rich people, right? I mean, instead of Kevin Bacon being in 972 movies, we may all be in some movies, right? If we're interesting, think about that. It's like all of us now, the barrier to becoming an actor or getting into something could be a lot less, because maybe your voice is recorded and some of your likeness is recorded, and you may put that out in the inventory and go, yeah, if you like I'm goofy looking and you like my voice, then use it, and then you get credit for it. I don't know. I mean, I just know that stuff gets solved.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I would go back then to what Greg was talking about around the consent. Is I don't want just anybody, because they happen to hear this podcast and we're able to mimic our voices, to take whatever script they want to and make our voices say XYZ.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing that, because there's been a couple of songs that have come out that you see them suing over, right?
Johnny Cash singing the
Yeah.
Barbie song.
Yeah, but there's been another one. There was a rapper who put somebody in their song, right? Not just recently,
Yep.
and they're getting sued. So that is all going to come out to where enough people get sued, then the industry will come up with a way to say, here,
Yeah.
just like you did with music. You're like, that's not a thing in music anymore, right? I mean, who uses BearShare or LimeWire anymore for the people who know that stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, Napster. That stuff's not around. Why? Because they finally figured out how to get people paid. Now, whether anybody agrees that that's a fair way to pay people who create music or whatever, but at least there's a whole process in place now, and it's a lot more difficult than it used to be. And I think people get paid a lot more than they used to before, when we were all just ripping our own CDs, right?
Yep.
Interesting stuff. Okay, that brings us to the end of round one. And if we check out our scores, we've got Heather in the lead with 5 points,
Yay.
followed very closely by Randy and Greg, tied at 4. And bringing up the rear is Jason, only
That's all right.
3 points.
Okay.
But wait,
There's plenty of time.
we have round 2, our take or toss round. There is plenty of time to redeem yourself, Jason. In our take or toss round, I'm going to give you a topic and you have to decide whether you take it or toss it. If you take it, that means you like it and you got to tell us why. If you toss it, you don't like it and you got to tell us why there too. This first one was actually really funny to me, and I laughed as I was listening to the example here. There was a company called Jolly Roger Telephone Company, and the guy who runs this company designed a ChatGPT bot. It's a subscription service, and it'll answer your phone for you and annoy and waste the time of a telemarketer. I did put a warning in there for y'all who listen to it, because it does have a bad word in it. But it basically answers the phone as if it were you, and then just continually annoys the telemarketer until they eventually give up. Randy, what do you think? Take it or toss it?
Oh, I'll take it. My only regret is I didn't think of it.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I know people. I have an elderly father-in-law who's been scammed. So yeah, I'm all for wasting their time.
Yeah.
Heather, what do you think?
I'll take it too. I think anytime you can start making their job harder and harder to make money, they'll stop doing it. So yes, I love it all day.
Jason?
Absolutely. Fighting back, giving a tool out there for people who, they were dependent upon the, 15 years ago, the do not call list. Well, that doesn't work, right? The government failed us on that, so
Right.
let's give a way for us to fight back.
Greg, what do you think?
I'm going to go with toss because I have too many. I don't like putting everything into my context list, and I would not trust that to filter it properly. So when the school principal calls because of one of my kids being my kids, I don't want to haggle and cuss out the school principal. So
Very
I'm going to toss
Wow.
until the technology is perfected.
Okay, very good. Very good. Bill, did you want to add anything to this one?
Well, I mean, Greg sounds so mature. It's kind of tough to
Right.
not say anything. That's not like, yeah, well, I don't. Yeah, if your doctor's calling you with bad news, or if he's calling you with good news, and then he gets that, he may turn it into bad news. So, but I'm with Randy. I wish I would have thought of this because, I've spent many years listening to these guys years ago who used to do that and come up with very detailed stories they would tell them, right? Like, hey, do you know how to get blood out of a carpet? Like right now, and do stuff to people on those telemarketers and just freak them out. And I used to love that stuff. So if you had a way to do that to people and it was mature, that could pick them out, right? I'd be all for that.
See, this is in my mind. I imagine Greg now doing that now that he's watched this video. He realizes that it's not the school principal. It's somebody selling something, and he becomes the grumpy old man.
Oh,
And Greg is now...
get off the lawn.
Yeah.
You got to
is
be able to
now
hand it
the
off.
grumpy old man.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Screen the call and then.
Yep.
Sorry about my grandma.
All right, Randy. So now we need to perfect it. So we got some new feature ideas to this concept. It's not just whatever's not in your contact list. So
Right.
Yeah.
we got to get to work.
Could you imagine even if you could pick the voice then too? You could mess with people with the
Oh, yeah.
voice. I mean,
They have several choices that could. There's several different voices that could answer the phone
Oh
for
my
you.
God,
I don't know that you can select it, but if you go through there's like 3 or 4 different people that could. The sample they gave you was the grumpy old man.
Oh, that's awesome.
But there's like 3 or 4 different people that could potentially be the person that answers the phone for you.
I would love that.
Yeah.
It's reverse. What was it? Crank yankers for this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
Okay, topic number 2. Google now has a generative AI bot, for lack of a better term, that is improving virtual fitting rooms. It will take an image of you and try on clothes for you so you can see how they will look, what you will look like in the clothes before you actually buy them.
Couldn't you do that before with Ken and Barbie?
If you think you look like Ken,
Right?
I'm not saying I look like him. I'm not saying I look like him, but if he had some clothes, you could put some different clothes on him.
Nobody looks like Barbie. Yeah, that's a long buzzer.
that was a mega buzzer indeed.
I agree.
Heather, what do you think?
Toss.
If you had access to this, you toss it?
Toss, yeah.
Okay.
I've no use for that at all. I just don't think that they're going to be able to approximate what you see when you look in the mirror with this thing on you. So I think you're still going to get the same amount of returns, of clothing. I don't think it's going to solve anything for anyone. And I have a body that fits something perfectly. I'm a perfect size too, but I still return things, and they should look great on me, and they don't. So I don't buy it.
Okay. Jason?
I say take it.
Okay.
So it offers people an option. Like today, a lot of people buy stuff on Amazon and the perfect size, whatever, and they're just returning it. Maybe it gives them an option if they're up for it. Like, I don't think I would do it personally, but it's a good option.
Okay.
It's out there.
Greg, what do you think?
Toss. I agree. I don't think it's actually going to solve anything, and it'll just drive even more engagement in the app. You're just going to wind up wasting more time trying to adjust, where you are and looking at the different pictures. You're going to just waste so much more time on the screen, in addition to it's still not looking and fitting right.
Randy?
I'm going to pass only because I was promised mirrors in the store that would do this like a decade ago.
Well played, Randy. Well played.
So I'm holding out for my mirrors.
If the damn mirrors aren't going to do it.
Yeah, I know.
Get it?
What if there's a service that shipped you the big trifold mirror along with the clothes?
Wow.
I don't
Oh,
see
that's impressive.
that's not any different.
It's not a
to me.
sustainable business, but no.
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 And then they give you the box to ship it back once you tried it. See, I thought
You get to keep the mirror if you subscribe.
There you go. I thought this might have a little merit because
Yeah.
I hate shopping, but yeah, I gotta toss it too. No.
Plus, how much I'm sorry, I'm back on your idea, but how much bad luck are you gonna be sending out into the world with the mirror with every
When it breaks?
purchase? Yeah, it's like,
Okay, yeah.
Hundreds
You
of
guys are
years
all
of bad
negative
luck.
Nancy's. Wow.
You just don't
Yeah.
ship
Well,
on Friday the 13th.
I mean, you need to just go back and play with your Kindle.
I'm just, all I can tell you is that there's a lot of 2D right now, but it's going to be 3D in the future, and it's going to look just like you. And
That's what this supposedly does.
I know, and I just think that there's going to be millions of people who think that's the coolest thing, even if it's just cool tech, and they're going to use it and they're going to make a ton of money on it. It's going to be a thing.
I thought he meant 2D, like 2D from Facts of Life.
Facts of
Oh
Life.
my God! What's
There's a lot of 2D right now.
What's Facts of Life? I've never
What
heard
did
of
I
it.
miss?
Get Mrs. Garrett out.
Oh
Right?
my gosh!
Okay.
Right?
That's a weird
We're
one.
dating ourselves.
All right, that brings us to the end of round 2. And to see who is going to go on to our joust, we have got.
Oh no, that's what winning means?
I didn't want to win either.
I did.
More time on the microphone.
Somebody has to.
We didn't want to
the more you don't wanna
participate.
win, the more you don't want to win, the more points you get.
That's not cool.
So
I'm
now
highly
we know,
competitive,
stay
but
on
this
the
is a bad
fence.
prize.
Yeah. You're better off just saying you don't agree or you agree with what Randy said.
What he said.
You do lose points if you agree with somebody. Nobody agreed this time.
I know. That's what I said. If you want to lose, if you want to
Yeah.
tank, it's like everything is. I agree with
agree.
Randy.
I was warned.
I don't have anything to say because Randy was exactly right.
Yeah.
And then get buzzed.
Okay, we have got Randy and Jason at the bottom of the barrel with 6 and 7
Wow.
points each.
Yeah. So mean. Do they get a vacuum or something?
They're out of here. And finishing in first and second place are Greg and Heather. So they will go on to our joust round. We will clear out the scores. Greg had the highest number of points with 9, so he gets to answer first. Heather will follow in second place. Whoever wins this gets to be either the king or the queen for the day and can talk for 1 minute on absolutely anything they want to.
Do we have to?
Can I just crown Heather as the winner and let's be done?
Yeah, you got two really unlikely
I know.
participants here.
It's gonna be interesting to hear Heather talk about the joust topic too.
And I didn't get to it because other Greg gave me like 5 minutes to get ready, so I don't even know what it
It
is.
deals with React and Node.js.
Heather, go.
Oh my god.
You're on. Ready, set, go.
Well. Yeah, I know nothing about that. Can I substitute? Like
Yeah, absolutely.
bring in tag team?
Well, what's the question?
It was, you can now describe,
Randy is
you
gonna
will
do
now
it.
be able to describe in an app, just a few sentences, what it is that you want an application to do. And you will get a fully functioning code base with React and Node.js. What do you think about that?
You
Good
had
idea,
most
bad
points.
idea? What do you think?
Oh, I thought you were gonna ask someone specific.
I'm going to ask you specifically, Greg, because you had the most points, so you get to answer first.
I think it's awesome. I've used that exact feature before. You still have some refining to do, but it definitely gets you started on developing the application a lot faster. But there's still some debugging and research, and if you know what you're doing, it can get you moving along very fast. I don't think it's a substitute for training and actually know what you're doing.
Okay. And Heather, you will be able to answer this because if you knew absolutely nothing about coding, but you know the application that you want to build, you can now just describe that using a few sentences, and you'll get a fully functioning app using React and Node.js. What do you think? Is that something you would be able to use?
It sounds like something that anyone would be able to use.
So what do you think?
But I don't know what those.
You don't need
Things
You
are.
no longer need Randy to build it for you. You don't need Greg to build it for you. You can build it yourself.
I disagree. My job's still relevant.
Yeah, I think there should still be some level of expertise involved, maybe. But I mean, to Bill's point, like, why shouldn't I be able to do something that's a great idea? I think at some point you have to put the grunt work in somewhere, right? You still have to market it. You still have to get people's eyes on it. You still have to, so it's like, if I design a new coffee cup with a gyroscope that doesn't spill when you're driving or whatever, like, you still have all the same challenges to get people to uptake it and spend money on it. So I don't know. I don't care.
Awesome. And I'm actually going to take the host's privilege to pull a thread on something Greg said, because I think this is a misnomer in the AI world that so many people have, and we have a great opportunity here to clear it up. Because I made a comment very flippantly about, you can just do it all yourself. You don't even need Randy or Greg anymore. And I think every one of us sitting here knows that that's not true. You can't just take Joe out of the back of the pizza shop and have him come and build an app. So here's my king or queen of the day. Greg wins this one, but instead of making him talk about anything, let's talk about that for just a minute.
You can give him some applause for winning. Very nice, very nice.
Greg wins, but he said he didn't want to talk for a minute. So instead, let's have a conversation about why Joe in the back of a pizza shop can't, even though this says it gives you a fully functioning app. Nobody can just really go and build an application that's going to function. Our engineers are not going away. We can't just build something and expect it to work. What do y'all think? I mean, give me your thoughts there, because I know that and you know that. If we have the folks that are listening to us think that that's now realistic, what would we tell them?
I think it can expand the roles in the collaborative process, because you, like Heather said, you still need people to market it, you still need people to sell it, you still need people to work on security and all those things. But if someone has a great idea in the organization, they can bring it up. Like, they can say, hey, I just did this over the weekend. Here's my little proof of concept. What do y'all think? It's like, that's a great idea. Let's run with it. And then you get your security, your marketing, your sales, all the other people involved, and you can get your idea up and running.
I think this gives us probably a good start. We might have some functioning code, but to your point, it's just that, it's functioning code. It needs to be expanded on. Somebody has to look at it and see how is it going to work in the real world.
So what I'm worried about is the things that AI right now is generating is stuff that we would give to junior developers. And so they're going to learn, they're going to trust the AI. I don't think that's a foundation on which you can have senior developers later. They're going to be too dependent on this is the truth. I think the idea that anybody can generate an app now, I mean, Andrew's a good example of using AI to expand his knowledge base. I think it works for that. But as far as I'm more concerned about the future of IT. Mm-hmm. Who is going to fill these positions when this generation's out, that actually looks at that code and knows that that's right or wrong, or this is implemented correctly or not. Yeah.
Don't you think it helps too, the fact that if we use Andrew as an example, he has some basis in technology, so he had something to keep him grounded in a place to start, and he has the people around him that he can ask for help when he needs help.
Yeah.
I know when I've built things, I will build it. I had a situation the other day where I was getting started on something, and one of the first things I did was I pinged Greg and Frank, hey, can you come help me with this to make sure that I'm not starting off on the wrong foot?
Yeah.
If you're not doing that, how do you know you're even getting started correctly?
Yeah, and that's the difference between, say, Andrew and Joe in the back of the pizza shop. Yeah.
Or Joe in the back of the pizza shop. What do you think, Bill? You run this place.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm always on the other side of this. You know what? We are 5 or 6 months into this, and what it can do already is mind-blowing. That's just the only word you can say with it. I mean, I literally created Pac-Man in 7 minutes the other day, and Python didn't write a line of code. Now, it wasn't fully functioning, but it was graphical. It had the guy and a board, and he was eating dots, and I'm like, yeah, I think like what's interesting to me is that we listened to the discussion about the earlier topics we had about should people get paid, and I think this is the same type of thing. Is like depending on what industry you're on and what your job is, you think of this differently, right? If you're a songwriter or you're an actor or you are a writer, it's like, hey, you can't just replace me, right? And we're like, well, we think you can, but we're here we're coming from a developer standpoint, going, you can't replace me, you can't replace me. It's the same conversation, and it's like, yeah, you know what, they're going to.
Yeah.
I mean, if you like, but the thing is, that shouldn't be a sad thing. That should be, you know what, I'm gonna get to do other things that I never got to do before, right? And I'm not gonna be focused on writing, the same old code over and over and over again, because I've written the same code so many times I don't even want to code anymore, right? It's the same thing. You're not changing anything. There's nothing new coming out. So it would be fun to be able to do something different instead of writing the same back end code that how do I get the data from the table to the repository to the back end to the front end? I don't want to do that anymore, right? But I think that what's going to happen is maybe it's 2 years away, maybe it's 6 months away. You are literally going to be able to Jarvis this and just say, I want this. And if it has some background about what design patterns you want to use, all those design patterns are out there already. And you could say, I want to use this for my back end, this for my front end. These patterns, make sure it has this stuff in it. And it can generate probably better code than a lot of our senior people could, and quicker too, right? So I'm like, I think it's coming. You just got to be ready for it. I mean, I don't know when it's going to be, but
it comes back to a human element, and how much of that human element are we going to want or find in these things that are developing as we go forward for all the stories we talked about today. So, if you still might want someone's creative mind on all of these images that you put together, I think you're still going to have to come back to having a human to have it be the idea that's better.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that.
Yeah, because if you think about all that this model is doing, is just predicting what the next thing can be. Yeah. So what we haven't seen yet is the spark of creativity. Yeah. And so it's good at mimicking patterns, but I don't think it's replaced an architect or a dev or anything like that.
No, not yet. The other part of it, though, going back to earlier, we said, hey, if your image or likeness is used, you should get paid. I'm guessing we've got all of us have written code that's out there that's, when somebody else is generating, your great code that you spent hours or weeks on is being used by somebody else. You're not getting paid for it. Where's my, where's something for the effort, right? I mean, where is that, right? I mean, so it's like, we focus in on actors and singers and people who make art, but I think what we've done for years is art, and if they're using my stuff somehow, there's no way to prove it, right, is being used to train, and somehow my code gets into somebody else's thing and they use it and they make money, you sit there and you go, oh, why aren't I making money, right? I mean, you can have these conversations about a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But I'm always on the side of, in a year or two, I think we weren't having this conversation 6 months ago, right? And now we're having this ridiculous conversation about something just generating code for you in a world that's completely different than anything else we've done before. Where is it going to be in another year? Yeah. It's not going to stop. So
right, you have to get used to the change.
Yeah. So, but
and try and change along with it.
Right. That's going to be the important part of trying to figure out. It's not going to be developers and analysts anymore. It's going to be something else. And they're going to still be paid well, but they're going to have to be creative. But they're not going to be in there, hands the keyboard writing code.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? That could be a year away, it could be 3 years away, but it's going to happen.
All right. Very good, guys. Anybody have any last thoughts?
Save your honey.
Save your honey.
Save your honey.
Forestry is a safe hedge against AI.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. There's a study. I only remember forestry, but there's a thing out there that shows you which jobs can't be computer.
That's what you want to go to?
That's where you want to go.
Go into the woods.
Plumbing is my backup.
Yeah. There you go. All the trades are going to come back, right?
Fine motor
Plumbing is your
skills. The robots
backup.
can't do this.
Yeah.
Plumbing is your backup, but I'll
Nice.
Jason, any last thoughts?
Nope.
What's your AI backup plan?
I'm all about the plumbing and the electrical stuff, all the trades.
Skydiving teacher.
No.
All right, guys. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. And